All right, so welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're doing something we haven't really done before.
Oh,
Yeah, we're diving into a piece of poetry, French poetry to be exact.
ooh, sounds intriguing.
Yeah, and poetry, it can be a little bit dense, a little intimidating sometimes,
Right.
but this one I think is really worth exploring,
I'm all ears.
even if it's, well, a bit dark, a bit unsettling.
Well, I guess that's part of what makes art so interesting, right? It can kind of challenge us, make us confront things that maybe make us a little uncomfortable.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so right off the bat, this poem hits us with a pretty strong image.
Okay.
It talks about a dissonant body in the slums, and there's this horrified music from brass instruments. What jumps out at you when you hear that?
Well, I mean, right away, it just drops you into this world that feels so breaking
Mm.
and chaotic, you know? Like the word dissonance, it means like a lack of harmony,
Yeah.
something that's jarring.
Yeah.
Unsettling. Like, imagine music, but it's all clashing.
Yeah.
And then this dissonant body, it makes you think, like, is it a corpse? Is it just, like, a symbol of decay? Something totally out of place in this already really bleak setting.
Right.
And then you add that horrified music on top of it, and it's like another layer of wrongness. What kind of music even sounds horrified?
Yeah.
It's just setting this really specific, really unsettling tone.
It is. It's unsettling. It's like a twisted funeral march or something.
Yeah.
And it just keeps getting more intense as it goes on, There's all these graphic descriptions of violence,
Uh-huh.
blood, open torsos, entrails.
Wow.
Then it even mentions nailed seditious tongues and punished dissenting voices.
Ooh, okay.
It's brutal.
Yeah, it definitely is. And it's like it goes beyond just physical violence, you know?
Yeah.
It's about silencing anyone who disagrees, crushing any kind of rebellion, like sedition. That's about like inciting rebellion against authority.
Right.
So these nailed tongues could be this really powerful image of censorship, the suppression of free thought. It's scary to think about. And it's still so relevant today.
Absolutely.
So in the middle of all this chaos, there's this figure, almost like a king, who directs the corpses from his throne.
Okay.
And he's got like this opera that's being performed by the dead while all these elite people are just feasting away. What do you make of that?
It's such a stark contrast. You've got like this horrible spectacle of death and suffering.
Right.
And on the other side, you've got these people in power who are totally detached. It's like they're entertained by it. Death is just a show for them.
A spectacle.
Exactly. It really shows you the huge gap between those who have power and those who are, well, subjected to it.
Yeah, they're just totally desensitized to all the suffering around them. But even in all this awfulness, there's this mention of some of the dead. The poem calls them rebellious and disruptive, and they're trying to escape. What do you think the poet's getting at with that?
Even in death, they're still fighting. It's like this inherent desire for freedom, for agency.
It also makes you think about the nature of control, you know? Like, even in death, they're rebelling. It's almost like saying true control is impossible. You might be able to control their bodies, but you can't control their spirits.
Yeah. And the poem doesn't let you forget that rebellion has a price.
Right.
These rebellious dead, they meet a pretty grim end. They get their skulls crushed and turned into gravel.
It's a bleak reminder of what happens when you defy power.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, is it better to just submit or to fight and face total destruction? It's a hard question.
Absolutely. And it doesn't give you any easy answers. It's more about, like, confronting those difficult choices people face in these situations.
All this talk of brutality makes me wonder, do we know anything about, like, what was going on when this was written? The poet's life, what France was like at the time?
Oh, yeah. Context is huge. It's like,
Right,
was
yeah.
this poet living under some oppressive regime? Were they seeing injustice all around them? Those details could totally change how we see the poem's themes. And then, like, what was going on in French poetry at the time? Was this kind of dark, violent imagery common? Or was this poet trying to do something totally new?
It's like a puzzle, right? You've got
Yeah.
the pieces, the words and images, but to really get it, you need the bigger picture.
Yeah, you've got to understand the context, the history, the artistic influences, and each piece adds a layer of meaning.
That's what makes poetry so interesting.
Exactly. It's not just about the words themselves.
Right.
It's about uncovering what's hidden beneath them,
Yeah.
understanding the historical context,
Yeah.
connecting with the emotions, and the ideas the poet's trying to express.
So we've spent this deep dive looking at this poem, This poem full of these unsettling images, violence, oppression, rebellion.
Yeah.
It's intense. It really makes you think. And it makes you wonder, could all this be a metaphor for something bigger?
That's the question, right? Is it about a specific event in history? Or is
Yeah.
it about something more universal, the human condition? The great thing about poetry is it can be open to interpretation.
That's true.
So what does it mean to you? What connections do you see to the world today? That's what I want you to think about.
Definitely something to ponder. Thanks for diving into this with me. Until next time.
Always a pleasure.